over exactly how I made this, and instead of like breaking it down, I'm actually just gonna start from scratch. So most likely the image is gonna look a little different because I can't repeat everything exactly how I did it, but I can give you a pretty solid idea of how I did it. So let's start with the original image. So I pulled this from Unsplash, unsplash.com. So that's a really good place to find free pictures that really have no license attached to them. So basically, do whatever you want with them. But with that said, it's always good to credit where it came from. So this came from Dustin Lucht. I don't know. I hope I'm saying your name right, but anyways, cool photo. So basically, this was inspired by infrared photography. So let's take a quick look at that. Um, I'm not 100% sure the process behind how this was done, but I do think after kind of like researching it a little bit that you need either a filter for your DSLR or a special type of film for an old like Kodak camera or something. But anyways, they look super cool. So yeah, just go through these and you can kind of get a rough idea of the types of colors that I was going for with this. So obviously, if you're familiar with Photoshop, you'd probably think, just like adjust the hue and that's it. For the most part, that is it, but there's ways to get the photo to look a little more realistic in regards to the infrared. So obviously, let's start with just adjusting the hue. So let's go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. And instead of adjusting, the whole master hue, I'm just kind of gonna stick to the colors that I want to adjust so I don't get like, there's obviously maybe some blues over here, some blues up here. The fog probably has a slight blue tint, so I just want to affect the leaves and the foliage. So let's just affect first the reds and kind of bring that to around there. And then the yellows, there we go. So the next thing I'm going to do, which I should have done before I did this, I need another layer. So luckily this is still a smart object, so I can just clear these filters and get back to the original image. And for this, I'm going to actually change this layer here to color so that it colors the layer below this. And this layer here below, I'm going to adjust to set to a black and white. And then you can kind of go through these settings here or adjust it yourself to kind of get the feel you're going for. So I'm going to just go through these filters real quick to see what it can do for me. So that's like already kind of looking more of around like these super bright infrared images. I mean, obviously this one image looks way cooler, but for the most part, let's fake it as best we can. So honestly, I'm thinking more in like the default range for this, kind of where it started. So yeah, and if you like, my process is not professional at all, guys. Like I literally just mess with things until I like the way it looks. Um, so if you find a bunch of tutorials on YouTube, it's probably going to be more technical than how I'm explaining things, but I don't know. I just find it easier to learn just by doing instead of putting in numbers and hoping for I don't know. Fuck it. So let's just mess with these values. So that kind of brings out the trees a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to leave it somewhere around there for now. The other thing I'm going to do is get another instance of this original photo. I'm going to try putting this on overlay just to see if it gives me so yeah, that's already like drawing out the fog more and kind of making it look more crispy and I don't know, foggy and cool looking. You can also try color burn, which does some really cool things. So yeah, this photo is definitely going to come out a little different, but whatever. So do I like color burn? Do I like overlay? For now, I'm going to stick with color burn and not use too much of it. All right. So now I have 3 layers of the same photo, just kind of mixed in a different way. Now I'm going to get a 4th layer, which was our original color layer that we adjusted the hue with. And I'm going to change this up a little bit. So let's just throw this, instead of color, back to normal just to see what I have here. And I kind of want to get a little more red out of this instead of pink. So let's go to like that. Now it does look pretty crappy, but we're not, just because like all the, the leaves are clipping, colors are clipping, and you're not seeing much, but I'm really basically just going to use this to kind of get more of a blur effect going over the leaves. So let's go to filter, blur, and select Gaussian blur here. And I don't know, I'm guessing that's where I had it set because I kind of just finished this image up. So whatever, go up to around 27.5, 30, 44, a billion, I don't care. But somewhere in this range. And then we're going to set this to soft light. And this should give us more of a kind of blurry, foggy feel. So here was the original before I applied the soft light, and here's with the soft light, so you can see the major difference here. So now we have a basic setup of color-wise, but I still want to go through and adjust all these previous layers. So maybe go through and readjust the black and white. I probably won't touch the hue over here. Maybe adjust the color burn a little more, see what that does for us. And this is totally up to you guys how you want it to look, but I'm just going to readjust some values. Let's go into the black and white. Oops. We actually want to set. So I left these all on smart filters so I can go back and change these at any time. So let's try this at 70 instead of, because it was at 72, as if that makes that big of a difference. Okay, next step. So let's take a look at this in comparison to the original photo. So it looks like I got way more pink in the original photo. That's fine. So the next thing you're going to do is you need to find some like solid film grain. So you can use mixtures, which I've downloaded and used billions of times. Let me give them a quick little shout out here. I'm not going to do that right now because it's on my hard drive and I don't really feel like cooking that up. So I'm just going to go on Google and find some. So you can download their packs. So you get all these awesome textures that you can use as overlays to kind of finish your photos. Yeah, they're super sweet. I'd highly recommend the Grunge pack and the Dust and Dirt pack. Light leaks are sick too, yeah. And the emulsion. I mean, those are just good for like kind of old film grain look effects, and that's what we're going for here. So let's just Google film grain. Now, cool little trick when like looking for images on Google. Tools, go into this section, size, and let's select larger than 4 megapixels. So that'll at least give us a high-res photo. And I'm going to actually change this to film grunge. There we go. So let's maybe try this one. Or this, yeah, let's do this one. So let's take that. Scale it up a bit. And throw it on color dodge. Right there. Let's see what that does for us. Or overlay, always a good choice. So maybe I'll do both. So a little bit on overlay and a little bit on color dodge. Let's move this around, kind of see. All right. So I'm gonna group all these and merge them together. So let's just make a duplicate group so I still have this below here filled with all my adjustments. And then I'm just gonna merge these. So merge group. And let's mess with the contrast of this merged section and the brightness and see if that does anything for us. And maybe we can adjust with the hue as well a little bit. So I'm kind of liking the overlay with just that film grain texture that I just pulled from Google. I'm going to rotate this texture around. I just kind of want to see if I can get more out of it in the leafy areas. So I do like the way that looks, but yeah. So I think for the original, I think I used a texture I forget which one it was, to kind of get these areas right here more highlighted. We'll figure it out as we go here. Alright, so let's just put the square in. This part's pretty simple. So let's just get a square with this rectangular marquee tool here. And let's go about that size. So to get a perfect square, I just held shift, and that automatically gives you a perfect square. So then I'm going to create a new layer and go to stroke. And I'm going to leave it at 7 pixels because that's what I did for the last one. Then we are going to rotate that 45 degrees and scale it down a little bit. So I think it was kind of somewhere around here. Now next step is we want to add some like glowing light to this. So on your square layer, just double click to open up the layer styles panel, and then go to outer glow. There we go. Oops. Outer glow. There we go. So when you do that, you'll start to get just the spread and size, and you'll kind of start to get a more glowy feel to the square. And I think at this point the background of the image is a little bit too bright because I'm losing a lot of the glow. So I think that was from the color dodge I used. How did I get that more pink? See, this is the issue with trying to match up an image exactly, because obviously I spent more time on it. Let's try another blur. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Actually, I want to adjust the hue. Image adjustments, hue, and I want to get it more pink. There we go. You could probably even set this to screen if you want it brighter. Yeah, that's sick. So that like really gives you like a super foggy infrared feel to it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that on screen, just because I like the way it looks. And then use that original to adjust this. Yeah, if I'm like not explaining things right now, it's because I'm like thinking and trying to explain at the same time, something I'm not very good at. So kind of just bear with me and watch what I'm doing. So that's looking a lot better in my opinion. Maybe we should make the square a little bit thicker. So let's go like this. New layer, stroke. Actually, you know what? We don't even have to do that. We can go to this layer here and select stroke. Set the position to outside, change it to white, bump up the opacity, and it's on color burn, so set that to normal. There we go. So 2 pixels looks a little better. Alright, so the next thing I did is I ducked the left corner behind the tree. So that's pretty simple to do. I'm just going to merge these two layers at this point because I like the way they're looking. And I'm going to go select the quick selection tool and select this portion of the tree. And I'm going to readjust like colors kind of towards the end because right now the square isn't sticking out as much as I would like it to. So after you select this tree as best as you can use the pen tool too, but in this situation I honestly feel like it's better to use this. So then we're going to go to select and mask, and we are going to change this radius value up to like around 27 pixels, just kind of somewhere in the middle. And then I'm going to make a copy of this. So edit, copy, merged. Actually, you know what we want to do? We want to go above. Yeah, that's fine. Edit, copy, merged. And then on a new layer, edit, paste special, paste in place. So now we have a copy of the tree. And then we just want to find our square here, and we want to duck it behind the tree if possible. And something obviously is not working. Let's put this all the way up top. Obviously I'm doing something stupid. You know what I probably did? Oh, duh. So I made a copy of the tree with, because I select copy merged, I made a copy of the tree with the square in it. So let's just edit, undo. There we go. And shut off our square. Edit, copy merged. Now, edit, paste special, paste in place. So that should have fixed it. There's the square. Now you can duck it behind the tree. There we go. That looks better. Okay, sorry for that mind lapse. Let's move around the square a little bit. All right. So maybe we can pull back on this screen mode a little bit to get the square to stand out a little bit more. So I am quite liking where this is going. I'm just kind of readjusting values here just to get the square to stick out a little bit more than it is. So kind of somewhere in that range. So, I mean, we're pretty close, right? There's one more thing I did, which I will get to in a second. Let's duplicate that whole entire group that I just grouped up and just merge it so we have a kind of completely merged file here. Let's see if adjusting the contrast does anything for us. So yeah, I mean, if you adjust the brightness, I mean, this is definitely looking a little more dark and mysterious than what I did before, but I like it. So in comparison to this one, you got that. So whatever you guys feel, you know, just mess around and come up with what you like the most. So maybe we can kind of blend these two. I don't know. I like this version better, so let's just duplicate this group again so I can show you guys what the other addition I made. So I went up to Filter, Render, Lens Flare, and I took a lens flare and just aimed it kind of towards the bottom of the square. And that automatically just gives you that much more glow to the square. What else you could do, like if I was going to really try and match this up to the original photo I created, we could go into the channel mixer and just kind of play around with these. I mean, you can get some really cool colors just by doing this as well. So I feel like there was more blue in there, so we can kind of just crank this up a little bit in that sense. So we are getting pretty close. I like it the way it is, honestly. So the other thing I did was I grabbed a microscope crystal image, and I found one that was in the public domain, which is this one right here. Although it's posted to Pinterest, it was, I think, I'll find the original. Yeah, nsf.gov. So yeah, that's fair game. And it looks pretty sick, so I grabbed this. If this shit wants to load. There we go. Transform, scale. Then I threw it on overlay. Let's see. Scale it down a little bit more. And then I got this tool up here, the polygon lasso tool. Kind of just outlined the square that I made. And then select inverse and just kind of delete everything outside of the box. Then I scaled this down to the center of the square. Kind of around there. So like I said before, it's not going to look exactly like this because obviously, you know, I don't remember how I did this. It was just like one of those things in the moment, you make it. But I did get pretty close, which is good, to give you a general idea of how I did it. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something from this. And sorry if like my explanation was terrible because I'm not a professional teacher, explainer person. I just make shit. And if you learn something from this, that'd be awesome. And if you make something out of this using this idea, definitely shoot me an email with your creations later.